So it's like, okay, love, gone. Income, gone. Sanity, gone. And it's not, I probably chose one of the hardest causes. And I also had one of the most earth-shattering experiences here. I feel like you live in New York City. Why don't you want to leave Ghana? And
you feel like you're living your dream in Ghana, and do you feel like you could have lived the same way over in America? I have introduced and interviewed a variety of people who have relocated from the diaspora, mainly America, to Ghana. Most of them happen to be couples. In this video, we're going to do something different. We're going to interview a single lady who relocated from New York City in America to Ghana. It's a completely different experience when you move to Ghana on your own in comparison to coming with a partner. She's gone through several challenges, but is still thriving. We're going to get to do all this while exploring parts of her home. The garden in her house is absolutely stunning. The home itself is beautiful. I can't wait for you guys to see it. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up. Let's get right into it. Today I am so excited to bring my guest to the channel. Her name is Dellasie. She moved from the US to Ghana some few years back, and she is doing some amazing work out here. She's an entrepreneur, she's a philanthropist, and she's a musician as well. I'm excited for you guys to get to know her. Let's go and speak to Dellasie. Saying I've never seen aloe vera so juicy.
oh, girl, yeah.
What do you guys put on it? Because mine is not looking like that.
My mom does a lot of composting.
Oh, okay.
So like she uses old coffee grounds.
Oh.
She uses eggshells. She uses
Okay.
charcoal.
Okay. Alright guys, so this is Dellasie.
Hi guys.
I did introduce her a little bit, but Dellasie, can you tell them a little bit about who you are?
Yes, I will do that. I am a recording artist, a humanitarian, and an entrepreneur. Born and raised in New York City, Ghanaian to the bone, and moved here back in 2018, just slightly ahead of the year of return.
Okay, so when were you born over in the US?
I was Harlem.
Okay.
To be exact.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So what made you decide to move to Ghana?
You know what? That is such a good question. It's a very funny one too. My father is the former Deputy Director General of the United Nations and also the head of the IAEA, which is a faction of the UN.
Okay.
And because senior executives get certain perks, and that includes subsidizing you and your family to go to your country of origin.
Oh.
So every year, every alternate year, we would come to Ghana in the summers and Christmases.
Right.
So I really grew up with Ghana.
Oh, okay.
And I've always wanted to live here.
Yeah.
When I was younger, my parents used to have to like trick me when we were leaving. Like, oh, we're not really leaving. We're just going to the airport to weigh our bags so we can make sure it's okay when we really leave.
Yeah.
And then I'd go, and then they'd be like, yeah, say bye to your cousins, you're leaving. And I would start crying.
Yeah.
And my cousins would be like, you live in New York City.
Yeah.
Why don't you want to leave Ghana? And people don't understand, living in a place like America where you don't always feel welcome, it's a very different feeling to be home, around your language, around your food, around your culture and traditions every day. You know, around all this melanin and all this nature. I mean, there's so many aspects of Africa that are so unique, so special.
Absolutely.
And I treasured that as a kid.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I started dating at 14. I told my very first boyfriend, up until right before I moved out here, that if you want to be with me, you're going to have to move to Africa because that's part of my plan.
He was American, was he?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
So every like romantic relationship I've had, I'm like, well, just in case this is a forever thing, just know we're going to Ghana.
Gonna be in Ghana.
Right? Ghana was always part of the plan.
Awesome. Oh, that's
Yeah.
really good that your parents took advantage of the fact that you guys could come as often as possible. Because you know,
Yes.
when you're born over there and you're not as exposed to Ghana, you don't really realize what Ghana has to offer,
Yes.
even if you're Ghanaian.
Yes,
you know what
absolutely.
I mean? Yeah, so that's really good that you had those options.
Yeah.
So how long have you been here now?
It's creeping up on 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
How has that been for you? Has it been what you expected? Has
It's
it been...
it's equal parts incredible and frustrating. I think in equal doses, right?
Yeah.
But I wouldn't trade it. You know, it feels good to be home, even with the frustrations and the setbacks.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of spiritual growth being here, a lot of, I think, stepping into who I am as a person, as a brand, in my purpose. All of those things have culminated very strongly since moving here. And I also had one of the most earth-shattering experiences here. In 2020, a man that I love dearly passed away. And I've never experienced that kind of loss with someone that I was, romantically connected to. So it's a very different kind of grief and pain that I never thought I'd experience until I was, a senior. But because that's what we always expect. You never expect that when you're young that somebody is going to just up and
Die,
pass
true.
away. And COVID had such a profound effect.
COVID,
It was from
was
COVID.
it? Okay.
Which was very rare here, because in Ghana it was only like maybe a few hundred people.
That's right.
That succumbed to the virus. So
That's right. Yeah. So in terms of the things that have been great about Ghana and the things that have been frustrating, can you go into depth for me?
Being exposed to the language, because when I first moved, I didn't know any tree at all. My tree's still really bad. It's still really bad, okay? But I know a couple things. I know a couple things.
Yeah.
And my Ghan's gotten a little bit stronger.
Okay.
We creep it into beginner stage. Okay, we're not intermediate.
What's your background? Like, where are you from? Are you Ghana? Are you?
Well, my mom is Ewe. And my dad is Ashanti. So very interesting, mix and match.
Right. Okay, so do you speak Ewe as well? I know. Ewe seems a lot harder. I feel like if you can't learn tree, you probably can't learn Ewe.
It is. It's so beautiful. But it's very complicated. Like there's a lot of consonants right next to each other. All that stuff. But I love the culture, and I also love how their names are unisex names. Because my name is Dellasie. I've met men named Dellasie, and it's very common that an Ewe name is going to be for a man or a woman, which I think is so cool. I love that. As a music artist, dealing with things like sexual exploitation. Sexual exploitation specifically is a universal issue. I don't want to paint a picture that it's only in Ghana where you're going to experience this. Back in New York when I was doing music, yes, like I've experienced, certain situations, but there was a balance there. And there were certain resources to protect you or where you could feel, safe. In Ghana, because that industry is still growing out, it gives a lot of cowboys and Indians energy. Like every man for himself. Like no kind of regulations, no kind of protection. There's not a lot of money that's being invested into the creative sector. So it makes it really, really challenging for artists. And I definitely felt that oppression, being a woman who is strong and vocal, and I have very, very strong conviction. So I'm not going to be weakened by my environment, just because people are pressuring you to do something. If you're strong-willed, you will hold on to those things. And so I've held on to those things, but I've had to sacrifice a lot of movement in my career because of that. So that's probably one of the biggest.
I think in the creative industry in Ghana in general, it's really like that. I think it's not really regulated. It's still growing, I guess. So there's a lot that needs to be done in terms of that.
That sector it needs a lot more funding. A lot more funding. Because I think what we don't understand here that Nigerians understand slightly better is that music and the arts and culture is a huge export. In the United States, California has like the biggest GDP. Why? Because of Hollywood. Pop culture is America's biggest export. And really any country, when you think about it, has the potential to have that. And why not Ghana? Because we're not investing in that sector enough. We're not seeing the potential economically, and we really need to think that way,
So when you were over in the US, what did you do? Did you always do music over there, or did you do a different job, and then once you moved over here, you decided to get into music? What did that look like?
Good question. Well, I started working for BET in the marketing department many moons ago after I graduated from Emory University. And, being in that space, I met all kinds of people. Usher, Alicia Keys, Erykah Badu, and I got to go to these, concerts and help do logistics for these events where you would see these people. And I've always been an artist. I've always been a musician. I should rewind just a little bit. I started music at a super young age. Around 8 years old, I was trained classically in piano. So I took piano lessons for 9 years. So when I went to college is when I stopped the lessons. but I have a really strong instrumental foundation. I also took cello, sang in the church choir and the school chorus as an alto, and so I had that strong foundation. In college is when I started writing rhymes and like, you know, like getting into that, doing my first mixtape with an artist collective called Lion's Den in Atlanta, and doing all of that. So I got a chance meeting with one of Pharrell Williams' A&R, and they were interested in possibly signing me at the time, but we never got a chance to move forward because his label disbanded. There was all this like behind the scenes drama. So when that happened, I didn't give up on music, but I said, let me focus on finishing my degree and getting some money, you know? So I graduated Emory, came back to New York, started working at BET, and that's when being around all of those artists and stuff kind of gave me the itch. Like, no, I gotta get back in the game. So I did, and I did a few projects. Eventually, I quit BET and started doing music full time, and on the side I would do marketing for like, you know, independent clients, photography. I even Airbnb'd just to supplement my income. So I was able to continue to do music and eventually start touring. I toured in Europe and Canada. And yeah, so I was on a high when I moved here. So it was really, really hard to slow down because of the circumstances after all of that momentum, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So at that time you were an independent artist, were you? Or were you? Okay, so you're doing it all on your own.
Yes,
wow,
yes,
that's amazing.
Thank you.
Not many people can do that.
Man, you really have to have it in you. But when you feel like you have a purpose and you found that purpose, it's just another kind of drive. You know? If you're not in your purpose, you might not understand that same kind of drive. But I think those that are truly living within that space, they get it. And I also want to say, it is a blessing to be in your purpose, because some people go their whole life searching for it and they don't find it. So if you find it really young and you can exploit it, why not? So that's kind of like the energy I was coming from. Like, I'm blessed to understand what I was put here for. So let me go as hard as I possibly can, you know?
And had you, so you know how you said you did piano lessons and you did all those things. Did you always know that you wanted to do music professionally? When did you realize that?
When I was a kid, I didn't know that. I thought that it was something that would be in my life recreationally. It's just something that I'd always liked to do. Like, you know how some people have hobbies, they might knit or something and then get quite good at it.
So when did you realize that you know, it was something that you could actually, you know, make a job out of?
In college, because in college, you know, we would hang out at the cafeteria, you know, eating and stuff, and sometimes I'd write rhymes and stuff, and we would just like kind of like say them back and forth, like me and my friends. And then we made like this little website, and every week we'd have battles. Like, it was me and my best friend versus like a bunch of guys. And she, you know, her and I, you know, we would just be on it. And then we started to get a reputation. Like, wow, like Monique and Dee, like, they got bars. Like, them girls are serious, you know what I'm saying? And I met Talib Kweli my freshman year at Emory University. He actually ended up becoming my mentor, like down the line. But meeting, you know, people like him, and then that arts collective I told you about, Lion's Den in Atlanta, that they really gave me the vim and the confidence and to say, no, you're really, really good. You need to put something together. You know?
Dellasie, I can tell you're really passionate about music. Like, your energy is like completely different when I ask you about the music you do and stuff like that. So what else are you doing aside from music in Ghana?
Right. Well, okay. So my entrepreneurship, which has actually culminated into something that is very, really, really special to me. I'm actually wearing a piece from my line. This is the Afua wrap top. And I'll give you the background. So after the whole, or during the whole grieving process, you know, before my deceased passed away, he was a very successful business mogul. So I was doing freelance marketing for him, and he was paying me very well, very well, okay? So I was doing good out here. And then suddenly he goes. So it's like, okay, love, gone. Income, gone. Sanity, gone, right? So I spent the next several months grieving, and I was home because it was kind of semi-lockdown still. So I had nothing to do but be on the internet. And what I noticed online was that everybody was complaining about packages being slow. So I'm like, wow, we're on lockdown. People are either not working at all or remote, but you know what is working? Online shopping.
Yeah.
So that kind of put a bell into my head, like, wait, how can I kind of step into that space? So I started looking up e-commerce, and I just like deep dove into anything I could get my hands on in terms of e-commerce. And then eventually I came across a boot camp. It was like a 6-week boot camp. You get a little certificate when you complete it, and it tells you everything to basically know about starting your first e-commerce business. So I went through that program, and once it was done, I started my brand, which it's Pan of Love. Pan of Love comes from Pan-African and love brought together.
Right.
So panalove.online is my online store, and I basically just built it for women like me who love fashion, that are very fashion forward, maybe have like sophisticated fashion taste, but that's very expensive. I wanted to create a space where kind of like a Zara price point,
Right.
that people can get pieces that are unique, you know, things that you can maybe see on a runway in Japan or something, and still be affordable,
Right.
you know, because there's no real like niche like that. Any girl that's like a fashion girl, she gotta have money, and that's not fair.
Yeah,
you know, some of us out here love fashion, live for
But
fashion,
we can't
but-
afford it.
right?
Yeah,
like you
that's
know,
true.
we're not making Wall Street money. Not all of us are doing that, and there needs to be a space for these women.
Yeah,
And because my lifestyle changed so drastically financially, I felt like I want to speak to those people that might be able to relate in this pandemic to losing everything, but you don't want to lose your identity. You don't want to lose who you are.
Right.
Your fashion is what speaks before you speak.
Yeah.
You know, and I kind of call it wearable art in a sense, because there is a kind of art to fashion. I mean, look what you're wearing today. This is telling a whole story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for me, it's not just fashion, but it's expression, it's connection, it's so many things for me.
Yeah.
I did a little bit of marketing with Calvin Klein when I was still in New York. So I've had a lot of reference to fashion in my life.
Right.
So like when I was telling people about the store, it kind of seemed like, oh, she took a boot camp and boom, she had the store.
Right.
But this was years in the
Yes.
making. Like all of my music videos, I styled myself. All of my photo shoots, I styled myself. But I've always been like a big fashion girl. So finally, it all kind of came together with this. And I launched May 6th, 2021. So I'm like a little over 2 years into
Right.
it.
Okay.
And what it is I work with these manufacturers in Japan and Korea and China. And they hold my inventory for me, and then as my customers come in and purchase, I kind of go to them to have it shipped out.
Oh.
So it's kind of like a drop shipping kind of situation.
But you actually go there.
Well, I don't go there on a regular basis.
Okay.
But initially, you know,
Right.
just for quality control
Yeah,
purposes.
sure. Okay.
But so I was doing this, and then last January, I went to this conference called Kwau Summit. The CEO of Ethiopia Airlines spoke, and he touched me the most because he had so much passion and so much emotion in what he was saying. And basically, you know, he was brokenhearted because of the airline industry and how degraded it has become. So many failures. Even though Ethiopia Airlines has been consistent, he was pointing out all of the failures and why. And one of the main things he said was, you know, Africans love to patronize British Airways and KLM and all of these foreign airlines because they always affiliate that with excellence.
Yeah.
We don't want to support our own airlines because then we affiliate that with, you know, less than.
Yeah.
So that made me feel like, wow, how can I do something that is more sustainable for this economy, that's really pouring into this economy more than, okay, I'm making dollars off my site and I'm spending it in Ghana, so I'm helping in that sense. I wanted to do more than that.
Right.
So now my brand has transformed into pieces like this. I'm working with local artisans, seamstresses and tailors to create these pieces that are like fashion forward, modern, for millennial women. And it feels good to support the local community.
Yeah.
I specifically went to look for working class people that, you know, they might not even have a degree from high school, but they have been doing this for 10, 15, 20 years, and they are so talented. And so for me, it has become a very important aspect of my branding because I am a Pan-Africanist. And one thing that you will see in everything that I do, that is the connector, you know, Pan-Africanism. So for me, Panalove Online now represents the modern African woman, the diasporan woman, you know, the woman from Trinidad who would love to come to Ghana, but maybe she can't afford a $2,000 ticket to come to Ghana, but she can buy, you know, a $60 top or, you know, an $80 dress, you know, and she can know that Ghanaian hands made this. So that's really what I want to do with my brand.
Did you have any major challenges when you were launching this brand, especially being here in Ghana?
Yeah, good question. I wouldn't say major challenges. I think any of the challenges that I've faced is pretty common for most entrepreneurs. But one thing I would say for anybody watching who's considering doing this, don't do what I did, okay? I was in an emotionally traumatic situation, so I had to act fast. But if I had this over again to do this again under different circumstances, I would have secured outside funding, I would have gotten a bank loan, or I would have found investors to invest. I had to use the, you know, humble savings that I had and pour everything in to my business. So I took a big risk. I wouldn't suggest that people do this though. Because one thing I found was that once my business started going, everything that it took to finance that and keep it going was eating through anything I profited from. So I wasn't really getting over the hole, you know? And so then I got to a point where, wow, okay, well now I need funding now. So at least I had something to show investors, like, well, there is a store and it is functioning, and it's but still, it's not something I would suggest because that's probably been my biggest challenge, having enough capital and flow to be able to consistently do the advertising on the scale that I would like to do it, because advertising takes up 50% of my budget.
How are you advertising at the moment?
Well, because the store is online and just e-commerce for now, I've been doing everything online. So social media, Facebook Business Suite is what I use, and I basically advertise everywhere from like YouTube to Pinterest to TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, like literally everywhere. I'm just out there. Google too. Google is a huge resource. They have a Google Business platform, and that really helps a lot because with the web crawling, I get a lot of people finding my store.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
I know you participate in philanthropy as well. What exactly do you do when it comes to that?
Okay, another good question. Well, I work in the healthcare space. Yeah, I can say with assurance, even though I'm not a doctor and I'm not a health practitioner, I'm just, a humanitarian who really cares about this cause. But the cause I work on is skin cancer in Africa and the diaspora due to skin bleaching. And I started my initiative in 2016. So it's been about 7 years now, and it's very educative based. So essentially what I do is I talk to particularly the youth, but not just young people, but my focus is young people, because we want to be the prevention, not the cure, right? But I speak at high schools, universities, as well as workshops and smaller settings with, women specifically. And I also do conferences, forums, congresses, summits, with oncologists, dermatologists, or just academics, professors, anybody who's connected to the field that I might be able to appeal to for assistance, for statistical information, for research, or even resources like funding. And even though I've been doing this for 7 years, I just established my NGO in Ghana this year. So it's the Panalove Foundation. And I'm hoping my short-term goal is to do a speaking tour around Ghana, but eventually I would like to do ECOWAS and then the hot spots of the continent. So South Africa and Nigeria and Angola, and just hit those key areas and make contact and maybe get the ball rolling.
So what made you choose skin lightening as a topic of concern?
So back in 2016, I had come to visit Ghana, and my late uncle Kofi Annan had a luncheon. And at the luncheon, he had pulled me aside and he was like, oh, your mom and dad tell me that you've been doing music and you've been touring. I'm really proud of you. Let me know what you might need, you know, because I know people. So, and I was like, well, actually, there is something I need from you, but it's not that. And he was like, well, what is it? And I was like, well, I love doing music. I love making people happy, but I want to do more. And you were one of the most prolific humanitarians in the world, and you've made such an impact and a legacy with the good work that you've done. And for me, I would like to make an impact in a similar way. I mean, obviously not quite as big, but there's so many problems in the world, from world hunger, human trafficking, you know, animals going extinct, our oceans being polluted. Like, there's so many things that I care about and so many things that are wrong. I don't know where to begin. So he was like, well, go home and think about what frustrates you, and then use that energy to work towards a solution. And that's what I did. So that very night I went home and I started thinking, like, what frustrates me? And then it was like, boom, colorism. Okay. Like, right away I thought about, because I am an artist, I have experienced colorism personally. I know that it can be a detractor, especially in an industry that is run like at its highest height by, you know, old European men who believe that if you are a black entertainer, you have to fit a certain archetype, a certain Beyonce, Rihanna-ish archetype in order to be marketable. So I'm kind of like pushing back against all of that and encouraging young women to embrace their diversity. And it's not, I probably chose one of the hardest causes. Because there's not a lot of media attention, there's not a lot of money here, people don't really care. So it's been an uphill battle. But I'm getting some traction slowly but surely, getting more press and getting more interest. And now with my NGO, I can kind of get funding and different things so that I can expand this message larger and do more and be more impactful. So, you know, it's a lifelong commitment to this. This isn't something that I put an expiration date. Oh, I'll stop doing this on this day. Like, I really feel like I hope I could leave my NGO behind to someone as, you know, part of my legacy, and have this continue on until we can eradicate this. Well, hopefully. Probably not. But
I know, especially in Ghana, we have a long way to go. I mean, like, there's bleaching creams in every store, every cosmetic shop you go to, but you know, we do what we can. So I think you're doing really amazing. You're doing so many things. I don't even know how you have the time to do all of it.
It's because I'm single, girl. You ain't got no man bothering you, child. You can
there you go, guys.
You can do a couple things. I mean, you know, they do be bothering me. They do be bothering me.
Okay.
I don't have no mind though.
Oh, really? So you're not looking for somebody at the moment? Is that why? Or?
Yeah, I'm not looking for someone at the. They looking for me. You know, they looking for me. No, but it took me a long time to get over the grief.
Okay.
And so I'm just now starting, you know, to open up to the idea of moving forward with my life with somebody romantically. But it was very hard to get over that. It felt like a tunnel of unending darkness. Like you just could not see the light at the end, you know. But I'm seeing the light. Like it's starting to become clearer.
That's good. I'm happy to hear that. Yeah. So, do you think you would move out of Ghana?
No.
No?
I don't think
You're
so.
here for good,
I think so. I do.
Okay.
Yeah. I definitely want to travel regularly. So probably have like 65-35 where I'm in Ghana 65% of the year, but then the other 35% I'm making the rounds.
Okay.
So, because that's the way you have to take on.
That's
you know,
true.
if you don't leave here, it'll drive you crazy.
I know. Have you been back since being here?
Oh yeah, a couple times.
Oh, okay.
To New York, a couple times. The last time was like 8 months ago.
Right.
So,
Okay. Okay. Cool. That's nice. So, if people want to contact you, what's the best way for them to reach you? Okay,
guys. So my official website is Dellasie.com. That's DELLASIE.com, and you could find me online most places with my name. IG, just put the little underscore. Twitter, the same thing. Facebook, I mean, I'm everywhere. Just put in Dellasie, I'll be there.
So my final question for you, Dellasie, is: do you feel like you're living your dream in Ghana, and do you feel like you could have lived the same way over in America?
I absolutely feel like I'm living my dream. I literally put in an Instagram story once, like, wow guys, today I woke up and realized I'm living my dreams. amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I don't feel like I could have done this in New York. I mean, in New York I was living a different dream. You know, this is the main one. That was
dream.
a pre-dream. This is the real one.
Good. I'm so happy to hear that. Alright guys, I hope you guys have enjoyed spending time with me and Dellasie in her lovely home. If you guys have enjoyed the video, make sure you give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Let me know in the comment section below if you have enjoyed this and would like to see more diaspora content. Don't forget to follow your bliss soon. Now life is short. Follow your bliss, na nipa yedin. Follow your bliss, na di besi biaye, and follow your bliss, na den mada. Take care guys. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.